Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. This episode is also brought to you by Monopool, a fast-growing marketplace for Magic the Gathering that makes buying and selling cards easy. Their optimizer helps you get the best value when buying cards, and their team is focused on making it a great experience for buyers and sellers alike. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivanB. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Quiver and Monopool and my patrons at patreon.com/ShivanB. Today, I'm really excited to have a participant of the World Championship of Magic and I don't know, I guess Patreon essayist would probably be my best guess. Member of the great team Sanctum of All, Ryan. Hello, friend. Thank you so much for joining me today. You wrote this really sick essay that was very long about it was like a passionate defense of single player competitive Magic, and that totally caught my eye because even though this show is called Casual Magic, even though I was on the Commander Rules Committee for 5 years or whatever, I love one-on-one 60 card Magic. I think it is as important as other formats and should be supported strongly. And I thought your essay was cool enough that I was like, oh, I should just reach out and talk to you. So thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, hello. Thanks so much for having me on. I guess you said the show is about the fun parts of Magic, and I'm sort of here to defend that competitive Magic is one of those.
Yeah, so it's a long running meme for me that I am the turbo cat. If Kai Buddha is over here on Mount Competitive, I am on the other side of the canyon at Mount Casual. It's planted my flag of we're here to play crappy 3-drops and whatever 15 drops or whatever, but and it's become mimetic for me that it's I don't like competitive Commander. I don't think Commander or tournament Commander or very high powered high stakes Commander is a thing that should be, but the reason is because I believe 60 card Magic is awesome, and that's where competitive play should be, or Gladiator or Canlander. There's a million wonderful formats that are all about you and me sit down at a table, I stand up and you cry. That's the way this game is supposed to go. I mean, look, if we were playing Cube or Draft, that's kind of how this would be. Constructed, I get spanked every day, all day long. I'm just awful at it. But notwithstanding, I found your essay to be really insightful in terms of the notion of supporting and celebrating what is good about Richard Garfield's Magic, I guess. Old school 60 cards. We sit down, we play one-on-one, competitive, and I don't know, it's delight. So yeah, can you kind of give us this brief outline of what your thesis here is?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of the things you just said, maybe surprisingly or not, I agree with. I really think that part of the reason the game is so awesome and beautiful is that there's many different ways to play it. And this notion of you're more invested somehow if you're competitive is kind of not really true. You are one of the most invested people in the game that exists, I'm very sure, and are, explicitly kind of not setting yourself up to be this tournament grinder. I don't think that's, a thing. But that is part of the beauty of the game.
Every now and then I do have the dream of it would be really cool to sit down at a feeter match table and look at Reed Duke and then lose immediately.
I experienced that in the past year. It is a really cool experience. And I think that a lot of what I want to share and talk about today is just that I don't think that experience is very different from how a lot of people want to engage in Magic. And I really think we all feel similar ways about the game, have the same amount of fun. It's just that we engage with it in very unique ways to each person.
Yes.
I mean, the essay I wrote was very much from my own perspective of this is the part of the game that I love. And it was really about the part of Magic that you would think of as a sort of sport, an e-sport or an intellectual sport like chess, kind of whatever terminology you want to use for it. But the idea of a ranked tournament system where you climb the ladder, you try to achieve great heights, compete against the best in the world, that happens to, for me, be the type of Magic that I find incredible enjoyment in, incredible fun in. And we can get into, the reasons for that, but I kind of wrote this piece as sort of a defense of that world because I think it's often very misunderstood. And I think the outside of that world is often very misunderstood by
Yeah.
the people in it. And so kind of bringing the perspective of like, I am a competitive player. And the reason I am this way and the reason I engage with the game in this very intense, focused, sort of like hyper self critical kind of way is because that is what is enjoyable to me. And sort of trying to justify and explain why that is without judging other people for engaging with the game in different ways. That's sort of the idea.
No, and I think there's because for a long time there's existed this chasm between these two parts of Magic, where, for instance, you would open a pack, you would hear people like when I was coming up, and I mean I started in the dark, so I've been coming up for a very long time, right? But like you would open a pack and there would be like the rare would be a random like 8-drop red enchantment that says like all the players in the game now flip 3 coins out of their left earlobe, and they'd be like, it's commander trash, or there's some EDH garbage, or like it's casual stuff, right? And then there would be like the real players who are going out there and doing real Magic with like 2 drops that make you discard your whole hand to like the stupid dog to change its color just so that all your things can turn on threshold, blah 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 blah. Like I don't know if you ever played during Odyssey block. It is like the most miserable psychopathic Magic that's ever existed.
But I am very much a Magic boomer, but I was too young to play during Odyssey.
Yeah, I'm just saying, dude, when the best thing you could be doing is throwing your hand away, something has gone very wrong.
I do, though. I have read like some of Maro's articles about the design of Odyssey and how they kind of meant it to be a more spiky environment. Like I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, just kind of from the history of the game that I picked up.
Right. But like the point though is that there was for a long time, like even as late as I want to say like 2014 or something, there was a GP in LA, a modern GP, and I went there and I was going to go play Commander with Josh Lee Kwai and some of the folks. We were still a very small community. We were like, the GP was just a whole hall of people playing Modern, and then like 2 rows in the back for random people to have free tables. And every time we would sit down, the judges would move us for a draft or something. And I'm like, there are 12 tables and you're moving. Come on. But like we ended up having to play in the food court across the hall. And now you go to a Magic Con and like competitive Magic is like one small slice in the far like island, and the rest of it. Like I remember I went to GP Vegas in 2016, I think, or 20, whatever the first one with the command zone was. And I was talking to Verhey, and we were in there and we see that the command zone area, that the first time they had one, the paid area, you go and you play casual games or whatever, was bigger than both the modern Horizons, like, or Modern Master, whatever, the giant Modern tournament and like the giant limited tournament were both smaller than the amount of people in Commander. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. This is the weirdest inverse in Magic history I've ever seen.
And honestly, I mean, how can you not see that as wonderful?
I think it's amazing.
Great. Like I kind of get frustrated with competitive players seeing this, and you're totally right. It's the inverse of what it used to be. Right? Sort of competitive play used to be the culturally dominant thing, and casual play was kind of scoffed at. And now, in a certain way, it's really flipped. But I think that a lot of competitive players see that and are like resentful for it.
There's this whole notion of like, there's this notion of like, oh man, like Magic used to be like, the only thing that matters is every weekend there's a GP. We watch it on the TV, Patrick and whoever are giving commentary. It's great. And then like the casual players were just there randomly buying cards, or the people you sell your cards to after the season is over. Right. Like, and all the articles on SCG, on CFB, everything are like, here's the best 3 tips for drafting this random format. Everything was pointing in that direction. And then it pivoted, and now it's like, here are the best foil lands to match the color of your sleeves. And you're like, what? And I guess if you're a person who's come up being like, I want to read Zvi Maushwitz's like, tournament report, then you're going to be like, what is this monkey crap that's going on here? But I think, and this is a thing that I've tried to fight against in my own community, is that we need both sides of Magic. If competitive Magic is not healthy, the people who are looking for fun competitive environments come to casual play and then just start tanking the tables, right? And like start skull crushing people. Like I remember there was a dude who is a hardcore vintage player, and vintage and legacy obviously have kind of become very hard to just find. And his joy was playing mono blue or blue black control, like turbo mono counter spells all day long. And he's like, I keep building these blue like commander decks and nobody wants to play with me. And I'm like, really, what do you got? Let me see your list. And it's like, running Baral, and then there's like every counter spell that God has ever printed, and like mill and lockdown pieces. I'm like, I don't think you're at the right table for the game you're
Well,
looking for.
and fundamentally though, right, what is the complaint, right? No one wants to play with me. It's
Yeah.
still a kid on the playground who wants to play a game,
Yeah.
right? And wants to have fun playing the game. It's
Exactly.
just the way he has fun playing the game is not the same way that someone else would have fun.
Exactly.
And so he doesn't have a good partner to play with.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the whole principle is like, if we don't have a thriving community, if casual players try to take theme decks into like, well, I guess it's a modern deck, and you sit down at a modern FNM and they're playing a hyper tuned deck and you're playing oops all like, Kithkin, you're going to get skull crushed. And that's not their fault. That's not your fault. That's just a fundamental mismatch of where should we be sitting. And
totally.
And like, that's why I like Rail. I'm like, if you want Commander to be healthy, then we have to have a thriving competitive scene in
absolutely
the rest of Magic, because these two are synergistic. I want to buy your cards when you're done with the tournament. And like, also I take the decks that you guys make, I bring them to Arena, I have fun. And then I also turn them into a Commander deck later. It's great. But Magic players contain multitudes, right? Like we are not just casuals or competitive. We play Magic.
Really, yeah. And that's kind of something I was going to say is that like, there's the element of I just want to win. I'm going to play whatever lets me win and whatever strategy dominates. And there's the element of I want to express myself as I'm playing this game.
Yeah.
And one is more associated with casual and one is more associated with competitive.
Right.
But I think people don't often realize that those two things are present all levels or aspects of the game wherever you go.
Yes.
Casual players care about winning. They just want to kind of win in their own way or in a fun way, right? They you like you described, you don't want to get, skull stomped or whatever you said.
Skull
right?
crack,
That's just
please.
Not a fun experience. But at the same time, I think people might not really see or hear as much the stories about competitive players wanting to express themselves through the way they play the game, even at the highest levels. I mean, many of my teammates, one of my teammates literally goes by the like pseudonym CFTSOC, combo for the sake of combo.
Yes, amen to that.
And that is, if not a personal expression, I mean, what is it, right? Like, that is someone who is literally one of the most respected competitive players in the entire game, and very much has a philosophy of how they approach the game and expresses that through the way they approach it.
I mean, Reed Duke, one of the best players of all time, sits there and, always, like, whenever he gets a chance, he wants to play Jund. He wants to pull out Liliana. He wants to pull out, like, his lands are beta, like, original old school. Like, casual competitive players have flair and style and personality, as well. Yeah. And then there's, we're not all Ben Starks where it's just like, give me a card with a block on top and numbers at the bottom and whatever the best ones are, I'll win with. He's like the far extreme of the universe, right?
And I very much empathize with that mentality in some ways, but that's like a personality in and of itself, I would say. Maybe not the healthiest one all the time. But and also, I just think it's really true. And I kind of gave an example of this in the article, one that I really liked. I saw this random YouTube video a couple months ago of this person who was playing a very like pump spells, like combat tricks focused commander deck. I forget, probably people know this creator better than I do. It's just a random YouTube video that it got served to me because I was interested in Magic. And I found that video very cool and very just like someone expressing their creativity and intelligence and like tactical brilliance in how they approached a casual commander group, and seeing that like you can play the politics of this group, you can use cards that are under budget and not really respected and win through doing that. That's not exactly what the competitive tournament system facilitates. But just like these professional players have personalities and styles, I think casual players as well want to express their intellect and their creativity and their strategy and ability to win in like smart ways as they play. I think those aspects exist
Yeah.
whatever place you go.
And like, it's not that they're not transferable abilities.
They're very
I mean,
transferable.
think about the fact that Brad, God, like Corey and Brad, the Bash brothers, they now run a commander show. Those guys are some of the most competitive players of all time, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And I mean, I do remember Reed's first EDH, or Sam Black, who is actually the perfect example, because Sam Black is like hardcore in CDH, has become very much a multiplayer
Sam is the one
aficionado.
person who I trust, like, loves CEDH for CEDH
Yes.
specifically.
Sam,
and
like also
CEDH should exist for Sam, basically.
Right. And like Sam Black is literally one of the greatest players of all time, one of the greatest theorists of all time. And I remember seeing the first deck that they were coming up with, and it was just this blue-black, hateful pile. Because like me and Gavin were standing next to each other at GP Vegas, or what the Vegas post-pandemic, and Black comes up to us with his deck and is like, "Hey, check it out. This is my first commander deck." And we're like, "Buddy, nobody's ever going to play with you again." But like, you can live in both sides. Sam Black is just as comfortable at a world championship as they are, or I don't remember what his pronouns are, but that or at a casual table. It's Magic is magic. We can just do it for the sake of magic.
It is. And at the end of the day, everyone is that kid on the playground who wants someone to play with and wants to show that they are smart through how they play, regardless of whether that is totally focused on winning or winning in a particular way that they find fun. It's really.
I mean, I thought you had a very insightful, like, I mean, look, I was taken very heartily by your defense of competitive Magic, because like it is, watching pro Magic is basically one of my favorite things to do in the world. Like, so actually I want to pivot for a second and we'll come back to this essay. I want to know about Worlds, because holy crap, dude, you got to play in Worlds. Are you kidding me? That's literally the pinnacle of pinnacles.
It really is. It is something that, like, if you told myself as a middle schooler, high schooler, I would not have believed you. I would have been like, there's no way. I don't
When
get
did you
that.
start
That's
playing?
Crazy. I started, I think it was like somewhere in middle school over like a summer vacation. A friend just taught me.
Do you remember
a very
what set
simple
that was?
story. I remember the card Hearthfire Hobgoblin, I believe, which is a like triple red-white hybrid 2/2 double strike. I might be getting the name and the ability wrong, like the actual card, but I'm pretty sure that that's what that card is. That was played, I think, against me in my first game of Magic, and I was like, that is the best card ever. I want to play with that card.
Eventide.
Yeah, and we're going back to Logan really soon.
Hype. I'm so hype.
Yeah.
So, man, you're young.
I know. I feel like a boomer a lot because a lot of the competitive players are very young and only know like Arena and that kind of thing. And I've been playing the game for a very long time, but I started playing when I was very young. So like my first pre-release was, Rise of the Eldrazi, which it's a long time ago, but it's not as long as I'm sure like a lot of people have been playing.
I mean, look, I started playing in literally the second year of Magic's existence. My first pre-release was Innistrad. So it because like it just didn't exist as a concept, and I also took a gap in there. But like because when did you start getting onto the Pro Tour? How did you get into the competitive scene?
So I always love to kind of tell this story because it took me 15 years to qualify for the Pro Tour. And I was trying that entire time, guys. I was not like, oh, I don't care about it. I'm not going to make it, like, whatever.
There's still hope for me.
Basically, the beginning that I started playing the game, I wanted to succeed as much as I could in the tournament system. I wanted to become the best player in the world, that cliche, right? Like the Pokemon thing, be the best there ever was. And I started doing that. I started playing in as many tournaments as I could find. And I did that throughout middle school, high school, college. I started playing on Magic Online because my parents wouldn't let me download Magic Online until I was living on my own in college.
Smart as hell is what that is.
It was a good decision. Yeah, I gotta hand it to him. But I was a very competitive player from the beginning. I've always felt that way. That's always been how I engage with the game and find the most fun in it.
Hmm.
And I wanted to make the Pro Tour for a very long time. I was trying, not, I would say, as hard as I could, because I think realistically, people who try as hard as they can to do that are probably not in the healthiest place a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Um, I was trying as hard as I could within the place Magic had in my life, which was a serious hobby that I felt pushed me to be a better person, a better thinker, a better competitor. But it was in a box, right? It was,
Hmm.
a part
Hmm.
of my life that I enjoyed, but it was not my entire life. And I don't think it really should be for any person.
It's
It can
not.
be
I mean,
integrated into your life. But
I think about the
yeah.
fact that like there was a time in the 2010s to 2020 between like 2010 and 2020 where people had like the grinder life where it would be like every week you're on an airplane to a different convention hall somewhere, and it just seemed so unhealthy both for the game and for you as a person if you're just like always on the go, always trying to do this grinder, always buying a telling card at the show to play a deck, changing your I mean, it just seemed like I get that there were people who really enjoyed and thrived in that, but it seemed very toxic.
Yeah, it's a weird mix of like people do genuinely enjoy that, and it is, I think, an experience that can sort of shape you in
Sure.
different ways and have you meet a bunch of people who kind of approach the game or approach life similar to you, and a bunch of really interesting people play the game competitively and kind of
Absolutely.
get sucked into that world. But it can easily become overwhelming and take over like what the rest of your life should be, and you need to be able to live a normal
Yeah.
life outside of
One thing
Magic.
Magic
And you
players
need,
have not been
yeah,
good at is game life balance, man. We are
yes.
very bad at that.
And to be honest, it's because the game is incredible. It's a really, 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 really good game. I mean,
I
I'm a
mean,
little
truth.
biased, but from the moment I started playing Magic, I was just enthralled. And I
Oh
knew
yeah.
that I would be playing this game for the rest of my life, essentially, no matter what, as long as it stayed around. And, I hope it
Yeah.
continues to. It seems like it will. Um, people have called the death of Magic many, many times before. It hasn't happened yet. I
You
don't
want to know
expect
my
it to
secret?
happen soon.
When I
Yeah.
first left Magic, I left Magic right at Visions because I was like, phasing and flanking are going to kill the game. We didn't need any more stupid mechanics. The ones that were in Alpha were good enough for me and good enough for everybody. Why do we need to have new sets? This is dumb.
Okay. For me, I made a Facebook post in like 2013, whenever Innistrad came out, and before then, I think, I'm saying, "Oh my God, Innistrad new mechanic, double-sided cards. This is gonna ruin the game." And then like that was the last time I made a post that was like, this X thing is going to ruin the game. I made that post. I played with the cards. I was like, this is fun. This is incredible. This is a great game. And then I was like, I'm never going to do that again. And I haven't. And I don't intend to, because it's just so easy to kind of get like locked into whatever you perceive the game to be,
Yeah.
and whatever that is needs to be what the game continues to be, and it can't change, it can't grow, it can't expand to different places, and you're just always wrong. I think
Yeah,
when you do
basically,
that.
I've started holding my thoughts about that because I'm like, I'm not saying that Wizards makes all perfect decisions. Obviously,
For
we
sure,
all
not
know that
saying
they've
that.
made
Yes.
choices that I would not make myself. But like when it comes to things like game design choices, sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna hear you out because I've been wrong before. Let's see where this goes.
They've been smarter than their audience many,
Yeah,
many
but they've also made some
times.
really stupid. But
Of
anyways,
course. Yeah.
it's,
We don't need to litigate everything.
yeah, like otherwise we'll be talking about partners all day long. Um, but yeah, so when did you actually make it to the Pro Tour? How did you make it to the Pro Tour?
Yeah, so I had kind of given up on the idea that I would make the Pro Tour. I just sort of assumed like if it were to happen, it would have happened before I grew up and graduated college and got a job and sort of only considered Magic like hobby. But because I love the game so much, and because I specifically love the competitive part of the game so much, I continued to play it and try to improve myself and get better as much as I could. So um, after I graduated school, I like worked in Boston for a year, and then I moved to New York with my still current roommate Mora, who our moms went to med school together, so our
Oh, sick.
families are kind of friends. But we started becoming really close friends because we started playing a lot of competitive Magic together in like college, and we moved to New York together. And we started bonding over like playing a lot of Arena during COVID and during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Magic Online, a lot of Arena, basically all of the competitive online limited that we could play. This is another thing. I basically did not play Constructed for about 10 years until I qualified for the Pro Tour. I was exclusively a limited player until then, which is probably not the path most people take. I think it shows that I was not like trying to optimize the like probability that I would make the Pro Tour. I was playing the Magic that I enjoyed,
Yeah, like real talk,
playing it competitively.
limited is secretly the most fun way to play Magic. Like
Mhm.
every
I
time
mean,
you sit down,
I will say not so secretly. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, I
I've
guess
been a apologist for limited forever.
yeah, dude, there's something about the fact that you sit down, there's a puzzle, there's a limited pool of cards, you got to figure out how to solve this puzzle. And I love it
In
every
lots of
time.
ways, I think it is really like as Garfield intended Magic to be played.
Well,
You have your cards and you build your deck with the cards you have. That I think to me is like as pure as sort of based
yeah,
on stories of the game's creation that I've heard. He was not imagining that people would go make lists of cards, then go out and acquire those cards to build a
yeah,
deck. Like that's
pretty
not,
much. I mean,
yeah,
effectively what he was imagining was like draft chaff sealed for everybody forever.
right. And that sealed is still to this day one of my absolute favorite formats.
It's my, like, if I was going to peg down like my favorite ways to play, it's chaos draft and like, pre-release sealed. And because there's the purity of you sit down at the pre-release, you've got six packs,
Magical
everybody's like
atmosphere.
brand new, and you're like, whoa, what do I do with it? It's so cool, and it feels good, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, and there's an unknown to it. Like
Yeah.
you, especially if you haven't, read the cards or like read the spoiler before the
Or,
before the
I mean,
tournament.
the sets are so big now that even if you have read the spoilers,
Yeah,
700 cards in
true.
there, buddy. Who knows?
Yeah, and so we were playing a lot of like competitive online limited just from home in our apartment.
Mhm.
And kind of enjoying bonding over doing that together, helping each other out with like how to build a sealed pool kind of on the weekends.
Hmm.
Maura actually played in a Magic Online championship. So they qualified for that through the like online sealed big open tournaments. And so they did that. They played a pro tour. I kind of helped them prepare for both.
Hmm.
And then I sort of it's a weirdly poetic story. So I had been working this job that I enjoyed, but kind of had gotten worse and worse and worse over time for various reasons we don't need to get into. And one day I was just thinking to myself, like, I need to leave. I need to do something else. I need to make a change in my life. I don't know what it is. I just know I need to not be doing this anymore.
Mm.
One of those moments, right? Everyone has them, I'm sure, especially in their 20s. And
Yeah.
I did that. I kind of made that choice internally. I sort of told Maura, I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to like tell my boss I'm leaving in like a couple weeks. Before I actually got around to telling my boss, I won an arena championship qualifier over the weekend
Nice.
and qualified for the arena championships. And so my initial plan had been to like spend a couple months looking for a new job. It turned into, well, I guess I'll spend a couple months preparing for this arena championship. This is the one chance I'll have in my life to really prepare as hard as I can for a professional tournament and to give it my best shot.
Yeah, you've got a break now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Mental
yeah,
health.
right. It happened to just like perfectly line up with where I was at in my life at the time, which thank God. And so I did. And that shout out to AC5 War Room. That was the testing group I had with Ethan Sachs, one of my actually favorite like limited podcasters, which was cool to be able to work with
it's
him.
From the Lords of Limited, right?
Yeah, Lords of Limited. They're great.
Great show.
So he was qualified for that too. And so we prepared together with a bunch of other, teammates, including like Raph Levy and stuff, who again, this was like working with my heroes. It was really cool.
Dude, the first time I got to meet Raph, I was like, there's no way this guy's like the coolest dude in the world, but he's so cool. He's so
I know.
Anyways.
Yeah,
I was not
great. Being not chill is underrated, I would say. Being what do the kids say? Chillant.
Yeah, dude. I'm just happy to be here and super excited. Like it was funny. I don't mean to interrupt you, but like in Atlanta,
you're good.
I ran into Raph at like the PT in the thing, and he's like, do you come to like all of these? I'm like, yeah, dude, it's my job.
Yeah,
It's
it's
funny.
awesome, and it's your job. It's like
Yeah,
both at the same time. It's sort of a weird.
yeah.
I
He
kind
was
of have
looking at me
this
a little
feeling now.
befuddled, and I was like, "You don't even play in the tournament." I'm like, "No, I just kind of walk around and sign cards for people."
Kind of a person in the community. That is
Yeah,
the job that you have.
it's good
It's
times.
crazy. It's a weird world we
It's
live
a
in.
weird world.
Very weird.
But so
Um,
you spike it?
I spiked it. I got second
Oh,
at that Arena
damn.
Champs,
Oh,
which qualified me directly for Worlds that year and for no Pro Tours, which
what?
is this very weird quirk of how Arena Champs used to work. That like they kind of fixed this bug in the system that I sort of snuck
You could
in
just
somehow
go to
through
Worlds straight up.
directly to Worlds.
That's like
Do not pass PT. Do not collect PT min cash.
that's
Um,
ridiculous.
yeah, and so that was Worlds last year.
Oh,
And they also introduced this new thing where if you got top 24 at Worlds, you directly qualified for the first Pro Tour of the following year. But that was it. No pass downs from that, no anything. That is the one thing. So I think I was pretty much the only person or one of the few people in the tournament that this was relevant to. But I describe this as the world's hardest PTQ.
yeah,
The
no
World
kidding.
Championships. And so I prepared with Sanctum. I mean, I got connected to them through Ethan, and Sanctum is wonderful. And again, I kind of worked with some people who I already looked up to from building these crazy combo decks at some pro tours like Slogurk Legends and the Nadu PT Nadu. They kind of broke it
Yes.
there too. And I got to
Sanctum
work with
is
them.
one of the best teams of the modern era. Just
I
absolutely
love them
incredible.
so much. Yeah. And I worked with them for Worlds. We developed the Teamer Otters deck, which I think didn't end up doing super well overall as a team, but kind of became a very popular like umbo and meme deck afterwards. And
Yes.
actually played it again at this year's Worlds, which we'll get to. But yeah, that was that. If there was like you got one shot, one opportunity, whatever, right?
So you made it to
song,
24th in Worlds?
I got 18th last
What
year.
the hell?
Worlds,
How many
which is
people were in the
the
tournament?
proudest accomplishment of my life. It's about like 115 or so.
Okay, yeah, but it's also like the literal best 115 Magic players of the year. It's
yeah. And I'm someone who has never played a Pro Tour, never even thought they would play a Pro Tour.
okay. You got to hit like so. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time processing this for a second. This is kind of ridiculous. You went from sitting at home playing arena and getting to the top of an arena tournament. Okay, there's a mentality involved in there. I'm not saying you're not focused, but there's discipline and focus, but you're still in your house and you're playing on a laptop and there's this silent space you can create. When you walk into Worlds and you sit there and you're like, here's like literally 120 of the best people of all time that I've been watching forever. And you're sitting down at like a draft table and suddenly there's other people around you. And then there's all this noise and there's all this chaos. And then you sit down and it's
I
like,
was so nervous for my first round.
right. And like the dude in front of you is John Finkel. And you're like, what?
The night before Worlds, I just remember saying to myself, like, if I win one match, if I win one game, I will have proven that I like belong here.
Yeah.
That is, I will take that and like whatever for the rest of my life, I get to say I competed with the best and I like showed that I belonged on that stage.
Winning
I did a little better than that.
I mean, yeah, you did, but like, you're right though. Like winning one game at Worlds is insane. It's insane. Yeah. Do you remember like who were the people you fought against, or like what it was like to sit down against somebody like a name?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of pro Magic, just like you.
Yeah,
watching professional Magic has been one of my favorite activities for most of my life, and so I played against Reed at that tournament. He crushed me in one of the draft rounds. It's weird because now I sort of remember a lot of the opponents because I know them now, like even if they're not sort of famous in the broader culture like Magic sphere, that I've seen them at Pro Tours this year, so I kind of know them personally. But like my first round was against Anthony Lee, who had top eighted
I love him.
Worlds last year. He's wonderful.
He's so
cool. Him a lot. Yeah. I was incredibly nervous for that. My second round was against Lucas Duchow, who is not super like household name, but a killer. Magic online grinder and just like one of the best players, obviously, in the world. He demolished me. My third round was against, I believe, a Japanese player whose name I don't remember, but was clearly extremely good and very intimidating. Um, and then, yeah, constructed rounds. I played against Dushao again. He beat me there again as well. Um, so yeah, he was like my nemesis for a little bit. We got revenge at a later Pro Tour this year, which was
So
nice.
wait, what? But like, what does that feel like when you sit down and like? Because most people are never going to do a draft at like a pro level at that level, and it's so strange to have like pick up your cards, count them, draft, and then
Yeah.
like you can't look at your cards. You can't. You've just got to keep all this in your memory. Like, was it just intimidating? Did you do a lot of practice to like kind of build
Did
up
a
for that
ton of
idea?
practice. Yeah, so for Sanctum, and we do this because we often have people who are new to the professional scene.
Yeah.
We really try to have a process that is, teaching people like here's what to expect, here's how to kind of be ready for it, because it can be a very intimidating environment. I will say for myself, like that sort of, pick up your cards, pass them, whatever, like everything being very formal and very like
Hmm.
facilitated by the tournament organizers and judges, that to me feels almost natural. It feels
Mm.
like sort of the best way to play the game because you're given very clear instructions about how to operate, right?
Yeah.
You do not look at your cards until they say look at your cards, that kind of thing. There's obviously some amount of neurodivergence, I think, going on here.
Well, it's just like,
Um,
hey, we want to make this as streamlined as possible for you. We want to make sure there's
right.
no, just like, I'm just going
I'm
to
being given
mechanically
very
measure.
literal directions.
Yes.
And everyone is here for the same purpose. Everyone is locked in. Everyone is trying as hard as they can, but also very, very nice. Everyone I played at Worlds last year and this year too, super respectful, super nice, super kind, super funny opponents. Like, I think there's this definite perception, and I talk about this a little bit in maybe the competitive article, but also like another article I wrote earlier this year, that there's this perception of like, yeah, competitive players are sort of cutthroat and they'll do anything to like win and
I mean,
rules
they
lawyer
will
you
in
and
the
stuff.
game, but outside, they're all just very kind. I've talked to a lot of competitive pros, and they're just they're just nice people. Like, yeah, when we're sitting down for money, okay, they're going to kill me, but we understand that that's what we're here for.
Right. It's sort of a mutual consent kind of thing where you're entering the arena, and
Yeah,
in the arena here are the rules. Outside of the arena, we can laugh and joke and talk and strategize and discuss and have great conversations about
yeah,
what happened in the arena. Um,
exactly.
I was going to say too, though, like I don't think it's wrong that people have this perception of competitive players. There's this thing I'm sure you're aware of, being a historian
Hmm.
of the game, the Levine Trench, of how a lot of people who kind of haven't quite made it to that like level where they know that they've
The
proven
Levine
themselves,
Trench.
yeah,
Yep.
can be a lot more toxic because there's a lot more like personal ego invested in how they're doing at these tournaments.
Yes.
And so I think at lower levels, you can absolutely encounter people who are kind of good in their local scene, feel a certain type of way about it, feel bad if they lose to someone, especially someone who like doesn't look like them, let's be honest,
Hmm.
you know.
Let me tell you how
Um,
many times I've run into that in my life.
yeah. It is absolutely a thing. And so I do not want to say like competitive players are all
Oh
wonderful,
no,
kind
no,
people. Like
we
there's a
all
real
know.
perception that I want to validate that people have probably
Yeah,
encountered. Yeah.
we all know that there's a FNM end boss who is just like the biggest jerk you've ever run into, or like the GP mid tier grinders who would go every week and think they're the business, and then just get handed to them and come back and like. But when you get to like the upper echelons, it's like Eric Levine once wrote the article, the famous article with the Levine Trench, where it's like the people who are very happy to be here at like the FNM level, brand new, then the like scum of the earth, and then like the top tier pros who are just like, you know,
Super duper
absolute,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've hit bodhisattva hood, right? Like I've already hit everything I want to do, so now I can just let go of the
it
stress and just be kind, and it's great.
Yeah, it really is a little bit like that. I mean, there's a little bit too of it where it's like you have to turn the focus of your kind of frustration very inwards. And
Hmm.
that's not always a healthy thing, but I think it can be very healthy if you're sort of able to compartmentalize it and say, this is a process, this is my process for improving, but it's not like a judgment of myself as a person necessarily. But one, I think, really cool example of this, that this year's Worlds that I just played was one of my favorite opponents that I've played, who I also played at last year's Worlds, Alex Friedrichsen on Team Handshake. He's not super well known, but he's a really, really nice guy. Um,
Mm.
during our match, the way he plays, he's very unsure of himself a lot of the time in his table manner. He's very like just struggling over these decisions, trying to figure them out. And then he makes very good decisions and often crushes you. Um, but after our match, he was just muttering under his breath, like, matches are so hard or something. Which is just like, yeah, man, like
It's the hardest
it's
magic you're ever
Worlds.
gonna find, man. It's Worlds.
But it's just such a cool, like, I think
Validating.
example of, yeah, I mean, to get to this level, you sort of have to have this mentality of like being a kid figuring something out for the first time. You're really sitting there and just going like, oh man, oh geez, I really don't know what to do. And that you have to have that level of just like genuine curiosity toward the game and
Right.
respect of the game to, I think, make it there. And if you have that, it's very hard to feel entitled to victory.
Yes.
Like, it's just really hard to feel like I'm smarter than you, I know how to win, if you think the game is hard enough that it's just like impossible to know that all
Well,
the
because
time.
like when you're playing limited at a Pro Tour or Worlds, like your decks are necessarily going to be piles of garbage because you're sitting next to the best possible players who are also taking the best possible card, and so you got to make the best out of like these random 2/3s with reach or whatever the hell is in there. And then when you're playing constructed, every move you're doing is against somebody whose deck is who has spent the equal amount of time trying to figure out how to break holes through your deck. And
Yeah.
like every move, you have to sit and be like, what could possibly happen? I mean, I remember I learning from Reed Duke once. So I'm going to tell you this story, and then I'm going to tell you a recursive story just in a second. Reed told me once, is like, win or lose after every match, stop and look at your sideboard. Are you sure every card in your deck is exactly the one you need it to be? Are you sure there isn't something better that could have helped you? Even if you won, there might be a better thing you could do. And I was like, when I learned that and when I internalized that notion, I was like, wow, this is like, you can never, even like if Reed Duke can't sit down on it and be like, yo, I know what I'm doing, I'm one of the best in the world, then who the hell am I? And it gave me an entire rejiggering. So like, one of the things, when I came back to Magic in 2011, I was unemployed because like Sony PlayStation had just let me go. It was 2008 to 9, I don't know, whatever, sometime around then. The Innistrad, so it gets 2011. World was in San Francisco. And I'm like unemployed, and it's like Wednesdays. I see it on the mothership. I'm like, I'll just go to Worlds. I mean, why not? I'll go visit the tournament, see what it's like. And they had like, a bunch of side drafts, and there were $5 side drafts. And I'm like, I've never really drafted before, but it's $5. I'm going to sit down and play. You know who drafts at Wednesday on at Worlds? And this is when Worlds and the team Worlds, it was like individual Worlds and then like the team competition were at the same time.
There's a bunch of players there.
Yeah, so I'm sitting down and and it's like I'm fighting against like Team Finland or like, this is the trippiest thing that happened to me is I was playing against a bunch of Japanese players in my pod, and I had just moved back from Japan, so I was still pretty good at it. And I'm just conversation, we're having a nice chat, and I'm learning about Japanese Magic players. And one of the guys like, please excuse me, I have to get up. And I'm like, oh, really? In the middle of the match? What's wrong? He's like, I have to go get my Hall of Fame ring. And I'm like, oh, okay. What was your name? Shuhei? That's
good.
That's good.
Oh,
Congratulations. It's like, what the hell? And here's the thing that was wild. I got my ass kicked all day long. And at the end of the day, it's like, 10 o'clock or something. And I'm sitting in a side sealed match. And I sit down against this dude and I get crushed. I'm like, screw this. I'm just going to go home. I'm not good at this. And he's like, hang on. Let's look at your deck. And he sits down and he teaches me first off what a monocurve is, how to build a 1723, what this whole like limited should look like after a whole day of just getting scrubbed out. And I was like, yeah, cool. Thank you so much. And later on, it's like, that was Reed Duke, literally the year he won the Mox, just playing in a side event and at Worlds. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take like 20 minutes and teach you how to play. Like,
yeah.
And I was like,
and that's the thing is, I think like people like Reed, people like Shuhei who get here and like they get there because they just genuinely love understanding these things, and they love sharing that when they have an opportunity to.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. And I do think, a lot of the time that can maybe come off to people as a like, here, let me teach you how to play the game, unless you're very careful and kind of emotionally intelligent about it. But I think a lot of the time, the real place that instinct comes from is sharing the thing that is your hyper focus,
Yeah.
right? That you spent so much time figuring out, and you're like, look, you can learn this too. This is not just a thing that I have because I am this like much more intelligent being than you. It's just
Yeah.
that I've thought a lot about this. I've tried to spend time figuring it out.
And there's something about you can see someone struggling and you can help them out. And like real talk, if Reed hadn't given me that talk and sat me down and showed me how to do this, I wouldn't be here right now. I would not have 10 years of podcasting under me. I wouldn't be like running Commander. What the hell? Like literally just 10 seconds of kindness to teach me how to not be dumb at this game, you know?
And that's the thing. It's a way of showing someone like you belong here, right?
Yeah.
It's like you are worth bringing along with where we're at, even if you're not as good as we are right now at playing the game. It is a sense of like, the thing we're all doing is improving together. Right now, I can help you more with that than you can help me. So I'm going to do that. But like that is where we're at, and that is the thing we're doing together.
Yes.
I just think that is that's
amazing.
the energy of it, and it is not. I don't think that like you got better at the game, and that's why you stuck around from that. Maybe if I can assume, I think it's more that like you were being shown that like you have the respect of a professional player, you can belong here.
Like I didn't even know who he was until like much later. I was just like, oh, this is just a guy who's kind. And then later on I go home and I look at the website and I'm like, oh, but like it, and I brought it up to him later when I was somebody who he actually knew. And he was like, I don't remember that at all, but I'm grateful that you had this experience that helped you. And I'm like, yeah, like, because what it ends up doing is like, no, I didn't think that I was going to be the best player in the world, but it was more like, oh, there's somewhere for me to grow and there's somewhere for me to expand into. And like, this isn't a lost cause. And that unto itself is such an important moment in each Magic player's life, or just in life. Like that moment you're like, hey, you know what? There's still somewhere I can go from here. There's still hope I can grab onto and move on to. And that is like, that's one of the things I think that Magic does give to us, is this ability to realize that, yeah, you might lose 3 out of every 4 games, but there's still that one game, there's still that top deck, and you could still come out of it. And I don't know, learning how to just internalize that is very, very important.
It really, really is. And just the idea that like, there's always something to be proud of and always something to work on, I just think is part of the beauty of the game. I mean, there are, we were talking earlier, right? There's Commander, there's CEDH, there's Canadian Highlander, there's 100 billion thousand different formats. All of them would take a lifetime to master.
Boy,
and the game is always printing new cards. There's always new ways to play, new cards, new challenges, new things to explore, new things to learn. I think what I called it in the article was like the exploration game to end all exploration games.
Sure
it
is.
Just when you think about it, it is impossible to become perfect at playing Magic in general, the entirety of it, right? And so it just means that like there is always something to learn. There is always something to improve on. But at the same time, you can have your own area of knowledge and expertise, and you have your pet deck that you played at FNM 10 years ago, and that is something you probably understand better than Reed Duke does, right? Like, that is something that I think everyone can have in this game, and you can express your personality through that, and you can express your history with that. And I just think that like it's so much more true of all of us than we really think when we're looking at each other, where we're like, oh, the competitive players, they must know everything. They must be able to understand my commander deck better than I can. I don't actually think that's true.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. And same, right? Like you looking at the casual players, like, well, they understand how to have fun in the game, right? And I'm like this salty competitive player.
They really don't.
Yeah, all right. Sometimes,
sure, but I understand. I understand what you're saying.
At that. Yeah, but like I think competitive players can often feel that way. But like the highest level of competitive play, everyone is having a blast at Worlds, and they're like really, really stressed and being very hard on themselves and kind of super like, am I going to make it to the next year on the Pro Tour or whatever? But that is part of the fun for them.
Yeah. So
they know how to have fun too. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a different kind of fun.
I don't know, but like, so they were like, hey, anybody in the top 24 gets to go to the next Pro Tour. You made it. What the hell did that feel? I mean, first off, how did it feel when you started just climbing that ladder and just being like, oh crap, I'm going somewhere, and I made day 2?
Honestly, really don't remember it as anything but a blur.
Yeah, well,
I was
uh,
like, okay, I went 5-2. Great. I'm gonna come back tomorrow and I'm gonna try my best. Like it just that I sort of pushed everything else out of my mind and was just like, okay, the tournament's still going. I can't think about any of that. And I think that was a good approach.
yes, and also
You
eating
know,
snacks.
yes, eating and whatever. I also want to say that like one of my best friends from college came and visited in Vegas for Worlds. My parents came
That
because
must
they
have been
both
so
knew that
cool.
like it was really really wonderful and cool. And also like I forgot to tell my parents that they needed to get tickets to the Magic
Oh
Con to come
no!
inside and see me.
Oh no!
So they were like sitting outside like begging with the security guard like let us in. Our
My
son is
sons
in
have
there playing
that's.
in the World Championships.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
it's
if you had told me, I would have given him my
it was
pass.
a thing.
But yeah, so like you didn't make top eight, but you definitely were like at like the top end of like day two at least. So it's very
Yeah,
and
I
like so
I
all your
was sort of
matches.
out of top eight contention pretty early, and then I went on its kind of a run to like clinch it, basically.
Mm,
So I didn't really have the pressure of playing for top eight, but it was still. I mean, I can tell a good story here. So
yes, please.
um, I 13, no, not 13, like 15-year-old Ryan, like sophomore in high school or whatever. I don't remember
Mm.
what year that is, but um, playing at Grand Prix Boston, like 2013, 15, something like that. It's sealed. I play. I'm like I have two Staff of Mins in my pool, which is like a really really great sealed card for people who remember that one.
Yeah.
I feel like I have this really really nice pool, and I could maybe make day two of a Grand Prix for the first time, which would be incredible. I'm like 5-1 or something. Get paired against Shuhei Nakamura.
Oh
Oh
no.
God.
Oh
Who
no.
for like obviously Shuhei is a really well-known pro, but for people in the know, Shuhei like specifically crushes sealed Grand Prix.
He
That
might be
is
one of the
his
best of
bread
to
and
ever do it.
butter. Yeah, literally, I think if you pick like him or Martin Yuza are the two
Oh yeah.
people you do not want to see at a sealed Grand Prix specifically. They're great at other forms of Magic, but that is like what they're known for, right? So I
Yes.
sit down. I'm like this 15-year-old fan of Pro Magic. I know this. I'm hyper aware of who Shuhei is. He is one of my idols. Sealed is my favorite format. I'm a limited player. Like um,
I
in the
know. I know.
match, in the match, I am so nervous because I'm just thinking the entire time, like, oh my god, how am I appearing to Shuhei? He's gonna think I'm dumb if I make the wrong play. Yada yada yada. Right. Um, he has this like really large creature that's been growing for multiple turns. I have two 1/1 chump blockers.
Mm,
I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to look dumb. I'm going to pass the turn and leave back both of these 1/1s to block, right? Because I don't want him to just like cast a removal spell and kill me out of nowhere, right? I want to like
sure.
have insurance for that. So I'm just thinking, need to leave back both 1/1s to block, need to leave back both 1/1s to block. I do that. I pass the turn. He attacks with his big creature. I shove both 1/1s in front of it. Because I was just thinking in my head, can't look dumb, can't look dumb, gotta leave
Both
back
of
both
them?
1/1s to block. It's a play that literally makes no
Yeah.
logical
No.
sense whatsoever. The only sense it makes is the emotional sense of I need to like show that I made the smart play or whatever. And so I lose the match, I think, partially because of that. And I literally wrote my college essay about this moment of like being in this high pressure situation and kind of what I learned from it. So anyway, flash
That's awesome.
forward 15 years in the future, uh, playing for top eight or like not top eight, but playing for PT Qual again in Worlds.
Yeah.
Who do I get paired against in like the penultimate round trying to do that?
Oh
Shuhei
boy.
Nakamura.
Oh man.
Which is just really cool. I honestly saw it as like, this is my chance. This is my chance to redeem myself from this moment. I was playing Otters. He was playing Demir midrange. I had rehearsed this matchup 100 times in testing. I knew what our plan was. I was locked in. I knew every single card that wanted to be in my deck post board. I knew exactly kind of every play pattern, every situation. I was prepared for it. I executed it. I did not care who was across from me. I played the cards in front of me. I played excellently and I beat him. And that
Ah,
qualified me for my first pro tour at the world's hardest PTQ.
how cool is that?
It was the like story of a lifetime. It was just incredibly fun and cool. And like, I could not have scripted it better in a sports movie.
Oh my god, I would have been
Yeah.
jumping up and down, pumping my fist.
People are going to think I'm making like a lot of this like story that happened to me in the past couple years up, because it's like weirdly too good to like be true. It did happen to me. The one detail that makes it like not the perfect sports movie is that technically that was not the round that like clinched the PT for me. I had to win the following round, and
It's
I
not the
also
point.
did that. But right, it's not the point.
It's
It was just it was so
in your
cool and
head.
so
That was the
cathartic.
moment, and that's the one that matters,
Yeah.
right?
And I messaged my team, being like, you guys will not know how important this was to me, but I played perfectly and I beat Shuhei. And
Hell yeah.
it was just awesome. And yeah, like that was really how I did it. And I think honestly, it was just, I think people maybe don't think of it this way a lot, but it's the preparation.
Yes.
I had prepared for the moment. I knew what I was doing. I could operate on not autopilot exactly, but I could like
Well,
sort
no,
of
the thing is that
siphon off all of the other decisions besides the important
well,
ones
yeah.
to I know what I'm doing.
Well, that's the
I've
thing.
prepared.
It's not. It is kind of autopilot though, because like you've played so many reps of the deck, you know what you're supposed to do in every situation because you play it 1,000 times. You look down, and you're like, oh, there are two goblins and a troll, and I've got this thing, this thing, this thing. I know the sequence that this is going to go, and you're putting that into your lower brain where it's just automatically like going through motions, so that if the player does something unexpected, you can sit there and be like, oh, let me
That
actually
changes the
chew
pattern.
this.
I can
Yeah.
now think, right?
Yeah.
You kind of identify the spots where you need to think carefully and the spots where you need to trust your training, basically.
Yeah.
And that in itself, like knowing kind of which half of your brain to trust in any given scenario is part of the skill. I think is playing this high level tournament Magic. Like it is a combination of improvisation and trusting your own like skills and training.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
that's wild though. Like this whole sequence is really crazy, right? Like you're like, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna spike this tournament, I'm gonna go to Worlds, I'm gonna
It is
spike
really
Worlds,
crazy.
and then you're like, oh, I'm on the train now.
Well, okay,
Sort
so
of.
kind of. I was qualified for exactly the first Pro Tour of the next year. At
Okay.
that one, I needed to go 10-6 or better to
Uh-huh.
qualify for the next. I went 11-5 at that Pro Tour. At the next one, I needed to go 9. I needed to go 8-8 or better to qualify for the next two. I went 9-7. So I
There you go.
chained it together, qualified for the next two. At the following one, I needed to make day 2 to qualify for Worlds again this year, which I would not have ever expected to be back playing Worlds.
Dude, getting to World one time is like a lifetime achievement. Getting to World
I know.
twice is stupid.
And chaining it together to get there, like from the previous Worlds, I'm very, very proud of that. Will be for the rest of my life. And at that tournament, I needed to make day 2. So this was the kind of thing where like the pressure is like significantly lower, right? Even if I don't make day 2 and don't qualify for Worlds, I'm still qualified for the first Pro Tour of next year. I'm good. But at the same time, I feel much more confident in my abilities. I feel like I could win this tournament, right? If I want to, or if I like get lucky enough to.
If I want to.
Not if I want to. That's
yeah, no, it's
an
like
exaggeration.
if I
like,
fight through
if I really like try as hard as I possibly can
sure.
and have the things fall my way. I only needed to day 2 though. So if I'm like really only trying to do is the minimal that I need to, I can just kind of do.
Sure.
It's very hard to day 2 a Pro Tour, but like I could just do that and I'd be fine. I played Amulet Titan, which is very
one of my
like
favorite decks of all time.
It's beautiful and insanely intimidating.
Challenging.
I had not played Modern in 13 years,
oh, no.
But I prepared very hard, and I went 11-5 and had like a top 8 winning in at that.
Hell tour. Yeah!
And so at that point, I just felt like, wow, like I've
guess I'm
really,
doing it.
really made it. Yeah, I belong here. As much as I can possibly prove that I belong here, I belong here.
Short of having your face on a World Championship card, yeah.
I know. Yeah, we're still working on that one. But
meanwhile, freaking Javier's got 2. But okay.
I know, and I played against him at this Worlds and was still very intimidated. There's levels to this.
Yeah,
you would say. So yeah, I was feeling really good rolling into this Worlds, and then to kind of give the long and short of it, this Worlds we missed the Is It Lessons deck. We did not sort of become aware of how powerful that deck was when you added Artist Talent and Monument to Endurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even play against it. I recently wrote this blog article that I just published today about like our entire process and our testing and what we discovered and how we missed the lessons deck, what other things we found, and why I ended up bringing the same otters deck back to Worlds and thought that it was well positioned. But we missed, and even though I didn't play against lessons, I just kind of didn't get there. I wasn't as maybe locked in as I could have been. It's also possible the cards didn't fall my way. I really don't know. It's kind of hard to
I
say.
mean,
Magic is just difficult.
World is, no matter how many Pro Tours you've back to back, World is still hard.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, completely. Very, very hard. And it's even more so just that, like, it is entirely believable to me that I failed in some way and came up short, didn't do the right things, didn't, think about things the right way, didn't make the right decisions in the moment. I was a little bit more tired than I had been uh, leading up to the World Championships this year. And I think part of that was I maybe even pushed myself a little too hard in preparation, which is a mistake in and of itself. This is the mind of the competitive player, and it can become really toxic very easily if you kind of let it and don't sort of have a really healthy attitude towards it. But there are opportunities for mistakes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, it can be a little bit toxic, but it can also be really beautiful, I think, where you are saying, like, I believe in myself, I trust my process, I'm trying as hard as I possibly can, and I will still come up short. And isn't that just great? Isn't that fun? There will always be more to figure out and more to do. And like, I think if you keep it to this segment of your life that is devoted to this and you can have rest and time to recover, outside of that, it can be a very, very rewarding thing. Just trying to push yourself to
And
the best possible performance.
And it also keeps you interested, right? Like, I know David Ochoa. David Ochoa is one of the best like vintage and like legacy players. He was a phenomenal player on the Pro Tour, and he got to a point in his career where he's like, I've done everything I want to do. There's nobody here who's like giving me a challenge that I'm enjoying, and I don't think there's a lot of places for me to learn here. So I'm just going to call it a day on my career. And he went off to become a baker, and he's a phenomenal baker here in the Bay Area and makes amazing bread. But it's like, dude, it's
that's
just
awesome.
like,
I had no idea that that's kind of what he went off to do.
Yeah, he just like, after he left the pro scene, he was like, I'm just gonna go bake bread. And it's like, I went because like there was a party at his house or like a gathering. We got together and we were playing like Commander and hanging out. And he was like, here's some camembert I made and some like baguettes that I made to go with it. And I'm like, cheese and bread? Okay, well, this is the greatest day of my life. Let's go. But yeah, it's like, but if you don't have that killer instinct, he had the wherewithal to be like, I recognize in myself that this part of my life is good and we're going to move on. But if you've still got that hunger, then you can just keep grinding and be like, you know what, man, I might have got my ass kicked, but I had a great time and I learned a lot. And the next time it won't be me getting my ass kicked. Right. Like that's just, there's this
anything worth doing is hard. I mean, I think that's really the thing about it is like, it would not be so fun and so cool if it was easy to succeed.
Right. Exactly.
Right? That is the point, is that it's pushing you beyond what you might even think that you're capable of and turning you into a version of yourself that you might not even have like had the bravery to believe would exist.
Yeah.
That is, I guess, in like as poetic of a sentence as I can put it, what I love about competitive Magic. And anything competitive, like I'm a big sports fan. I love basketball, especially the WNBA. I'm a big Liberty fan.
Nice.
And especially like women's basketball, I don't want to like do this like, ally thing or whatever, but like it's so much better. But I do actually think that because it is a little bit less like prestigious and there's less money involved, I relate to it a little bit more as a competitive Magic player, where it is people who are there because they absolutely love the craft of what 100%. They do and are so dialed into the competitive, like, I'm just going to be the best in the world. I don't care what it costs me. Kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like I was a huge lacrosse fan. There was a professional lacrosse team, a lacrosse league for a while, and I would go and watch the games because tickets were like $5 and it was sick. And you would be like, these guys are just gym teachers during the week or whatever, like have normal random jobs. And they come here and try to thrash the crap out of each other, being the best possible lacrosse player. And I respect that so much because I'm like, at that level, you're playing for the love of the game because there's no money in this. There's no
Yeah.
like viable way to survive. But like, it would be nice if there was. Like,
It would be, right. Like, I think there is some merit to kind of giving people a way to earn a livelihood if they want to push themselves to become the best in something, just
yeah,
because that is sort of a human pursuit worth kind of valuing in a society. It kind of
universal basic
teaches us to
income.
push
Let's
our
go. Come
limits.
on.
Yeah, I totally. We don't need to get like political, but I totally agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can get political, but
dude. I'm
yeah.
a priest. This is like my show gets goes all over the place. Nobody who listens to the show is at all surprised at who I am. But like, I mean, dude, I renamed Kaladesh because it was a slur, right? Like, I got Wizards to change the plane name. I think people kind of know what they're getting into with me.
Yeah, they know where you're at.
Yeah, but so I do want to, before we like call this a day, I want to ask you a couple of questions specifically about Worlds, which
Yeah.
is like, because there's a few things I'm always curious about. Like, this is a small tournament compared to say like a Pro Tour or other bigger events. And even, I mean, I guess the world has been getting bigger, but it's relatively small. Like, when you're trying to pick a deck, are you keeping in mind the idea of beating the meta, or are you trying to be the deck that is the meta?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it actually kind of gets to the core of, I think, what we got wrong this time.
Mm,
So, one of my philosophies over the past year has mostly been that, like, you really should not over index in like your own internal testing what your team is figuring out which decks we think are good or bad in terms of projecting what conclusions they'll come to. You should basically just assume that the Pro Tour meta is going to be roughly the online metagame, whatever
mm,
is played in MTGO challenges and stuff. I kind of applied that philosophy to Worlds this year and thought there was going to be a lot of Dimir mid range, a lot of Simic, that kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
Even though those were decks that we kind of were very down on in our internal testing at various points because we just thought that they were beatable. And we missed because of that. And I think part of it was I have a little bit more influence on Sanctum now. And I was really pushing this philosophy of like, we should not project that other teams will come to the same conclusions that we do. And it turned out at Worlds, a little bit of a smaller tournament, a little bit of more everyone is on a team, everyone's trying their absolute hardest. People actually do really change their perceptions and do not play the same decks that are played online. At least that's what happened this year.
Mm.
So the answer is basically, I this year decided that we should not do that, but it actually turned out to be the right answer.
I really, really wanted the green deck to win the whole tournament just because I love green decks, and I thought that deck was super fun looking. But like, that Lessons deck is absolutely absurd.
I was testing against it the night before the tournament, and I was like so depressed. I was like, oh my God, they got us. They did it. They broke it. We didn't. This is not good.
Oh yeah,
And
because they revealed the list, right? Or something. Like, how do you find out?
Well, so they don't reveal lists, but there has been
Carson
a couple Lessons
like,
deck played online. They released the metagame breakdown, and then we have, team helpers who are not competitors who basically do stuff like this. Jason Yee is an amazing Magic player in its own right, and just a like super duper pro. I've learned so much from it this year. And Jason was looking at like what is the most probable version of Is It Lessons that like other teams would be playing, and kind of built it for us and was testing against me the night before the tournament. So that's the version I was playing against. And
oh God, I mean, Jason Yee is going to thrash you no matter what, though. It's just kind of like
I have gotten thrashed by Jason many times. Yeah,
but yeah, I was just like, I was thinking like, these guys, Wizards of the Coast, was sitting there saying, you know what? It'll be cool to print this Lessons deck right into a world where Vivi exists and where like Proft's eidetic memory is illegal. Like, they're obviously in the future league, these are all legal cards. I'm like, what the hell are you?
I know. I don't even know what that deck would have looked like. We were so like adamant that they needed to ban Profts when we were testing for Worlds before that announcement happened, because we were like, if they don't ban this card, this deck is going to be mandatory for us to play. It's so good, even without Vivi. Yeah,
I would just think
it still turned out that
it's so broken. It's just like, I was just thinking like, what the hell are you like? Ancestral Recall on Price Magnetic Memory would be the most busted ass nonsense of all. It reminds me
And
of the
I will
era of
say, I
Oko.
gotta say, like I touch on this in the article. I think the tournament scene is really important for surfacing these things to give a good signal to the game design team of like how, if you push things to their limit, will they break? And how does that make you design these dynamic systems that don't have as many breaking points?
Yes.
Just want to give a shout out to like competitive scene. This is a argument I try to make in the article. The competitive scene
It is
exists to make the game healthier and more fun for casual play. I think that's
100%,
something that goes
100%.
underrated.
With one exception, which is when like ex Pro Tour players go to WotC and start designing cards for Commander, and they're like, you know what, you need a hyper efficient 2-drop that makes a grillion mana, and I'm like,
yes,
oh, bro.
Although notably, I think for the stories I've heard, like Sam Black, for example, was very adamantly opposed to a lot of the like hyper powered Modern Horizons 3 cards and was saying like, or no, it was the companions. Sorry, the companions.
Yeah, the
Which were
companions.
sort of designed for like commander play, but were just absurdly way too powerful for normal 60 card Magic. And Sam Black was like, "You cannot print these. You cannot print these," and they like didn't listen to him. I think that is, I think you need a competitive player in the room saying, "I recognize certain things that are so breakable that they're really dangerous."
And even then, they printed Lutri, which is a card that you can't even play in Commander because it's literally free. It's just like, are all the cards different named? I'm like, I'm playing Singleton, man. Yeah, they are. Anyways, I'm not going to get into that again. That's a world that is not my problem anymore. You know what, man? This has been an absolutely fabulous conversation.
This has been wonderful.
This is really good. And honestly, there's so many more questions I want to ask you about, like what it's like to test for worlds, or like the process of picking a deck. And why is it always why can't it be a good, fun deck that's green and white?
Honors is such a beautiful deck. I would have loved it if it were actually a good choice for this world. And I really, truly thought it was.
Did you get like...
not just in my heart, but in my analytical cold head, I thought that Honors was a good choice.
What did you think of Avatar Limited at Worlds?
Arya is... I don't know how to pronounce her last name, unfortunately. Arya... Thank you. Yeah. Is one of my friends and one of the founders of Sanctum. And it is a designer at Wizards now. And I do just want to say that, like, most of the people who designed the game, incredibly smart, wonderful people who want the game to thrive. It is a very difficult job that they have.
Yes.
I want to give that caveat because we've been, like, oh, it's easy to just not design broken stuff. It's actually very, very hard.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they know it.
They do a good job most of the time. They understand. Yeah, everyone complains all the time. They're very used to it. Anyway, I was telling Arya, this was my feedback for her for like Avatar Limited, was basically that I thought the set and the flavor, the cards were so fun to read and process as like a fan of the show. And they were fun to look at and kind of anticipate playing with. And then I think the limited format itself, at least at higher levels of play, and even I think on Arena, people will find this true too, it sort of just makes you play very like vanilla meat and potatoes limited in a way that I feel like is kind of punishing to people who want to do cool, fun stuff a little bit. It's very tempo. It's very get on the board, be aggressive, like don't fall behind. Yeah. And that's the kind of cutthroat gameplay that I don't really want out of sort of a more like Universes Beyond, newer player being introduced to the game kind of set. So that was my feedback for it. I personally really enjoyed the set. I think our limited process as the team is really good, and I like the cards a lot, but I enjoy other sets a little bit more. It's not going to be one of my all-time favorites. It was good, but I think not like a great.
Like set. Honestly,
for limited in particular, I think overall as a Magic set, it really succeeded.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, Final Fantasy is still like the high bar for recent limited formats in terms of just like this is a joy no matter where you are at the table. But yeah, like you know what? It's. Are you going to be on the Pro Tour again next year, or do you have to go climb the ladder?
Yeah, I'm qualified for the first 2 Pro Tours next year, which is really wonderful. I'm very grateful to be able to have an opportunity still to keep going. And I'm going to be playing with Sanctum for both of them, which is my favorite place to be. Sanctum Testing House, no matter where it is.
It's one of the best teams there is right now. So like, you're not in a bad place, man.
Not in a bad place competitively, and I'm just playing with friends at this point. And
that's
right?
Like,
best things you can
do. I mean, That's what LSV used to say about CFP, right? He's like, yeah, they're all Hall of Famers or whatever, but they're also just my long-term friends who we like and we enjoy playing Magic together. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
What else can you ask for?
Kitchen table magic at its finest.
You know what?
CFB in the testing house.
I don't know, man. Like when you hear
Unironically, though.
like, yeah, it's true though. It's like these guys are still like, at the end of the day, we're all just a 12-year-old who discovered Shivan Dragon for the first time, right? It's just like,
Seriously.
this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
We love this. Otherwise, we wouldn't do this. But yeah, man, thank you so much for joining me. And if folks wanted to find you, where could they go?
Yeah. So my Magic social media is Blue Sky now. I technically still have a Twitter where I post my articles, but I don't really use it anymore. Who does? So r-condon.bsky.social is my social media. And then I have a Patreon, as I've been talking about, where I write these very long warning for people. They're very long.
As a person who absolutely loves written Magic content, you are bringing back the energy of the golden age, and I love it and I really respect it. And I'm glad that somebody's holding the flag.
I truly cannot express how wonderful that is to hear and how much that means to me. I mean, that is, if I could describe one thing I'm trying to do, it's that. So thank you. Those are really kind words and I appreciate it a lot. People can find that at just patreon.com/RyanCMTG.
Awesome. As always, my friends, you can find me at Shivam Bhatt on Blue Sky. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at YouTube every Tuesday, thanks to my editor, Dan. You can also hear me on Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic or the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. And remember, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.